The rehearsal that changed everything. I should have been happy. That was the thought running through my head as I stood inside the private banquet hall, looking at the people who had come to celebrate my wedding rehearsal. 6 years. 6 years with Olivia Bennet. 6 years of dates, dreams, arguments, apologies, and promises. And tomorrow, she was supposed to become my wife. "Hey, groom," Noah Mitchell said, walking over with a grin. "You look nervous." "I'm not nervous." "You're lying." I laughed. "Okay, maybe a little." "A little." "Fine. A lot. That's normal." "I know." Noah grabbed a drink from a nearby table. "Tomorrow changes everything." "Yeah. You ready?" I looked across the room. Olivia was talking with a few relatives. She looked beautiful. She noticed me staring and smiled. That smile instantly calmed me down. "I've never been more ready for anything," I said. Noah followed my gaze. "You really love her?" "More than anything." He nodded. "I can tell." A few minutes later, Olivia walked over. "There you are," she said. I wrapped an arm around her waist. "Looking for me?" "Always." She rolled her eyes. "You're getting cheesy already. We're getting married tomorrow. I earned the right." She laughed. "Good, I love that laugh." For a moment, everything felt perfect. Then her phone rang. At first, she ignored it. The screen lit up again. Her smile disappeared. I noticed immediately. "Everything okay?" She stared at the caller ID. What is it?" "It's Ryan." The name hit me like cold water. Ryan Foster. Her ex-boyfriend. The man she had dated before me. The man I never completely trusted. I tried to stay calm. "You don't have to answer. It might be important." "Olivia." He wouldn't call unless something was wrong. I didn't like that answer. Not one bit. Still, she answered. "Hello." I watched her face change. "What?" A pause. "What happened?" Another pause. Then she stepped farther away. I couldn't hear everything she was saying. I only caught pieces. "Slow down. Where are you? Did you call anyone else?" By the time she returned, the color had drained from her face. "What happened?" I asked. She looked at me, then at the floor, then back at me. "Ryan's in the hospital." My stomach tightened. "What?" "He says he's having a medical emergency." I frowned. "What kind of emergency?" He didn't explain. "Then how do you know it's serious?" He sounded terrified. I folded my arms. And he wants me there." For a second, I honestly thought I had heard her wrong. "What?" "He asked me to come." I stared at her. "You're joking." "I'm not." "Olivia, this is our rehearsal dinner." "I know. Tomorrow is our wedding." "I know that too." "Then why are we even having this conversation?" Her expression softened. "Ethan." "No. No." "Tell him no." She looked uncomfortable. "I can't." My jaw tightened. "You can't. He has nobody else." I laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "He has friends. Not close ones. He has family. They're out of state. So call an ambulance." "He already did." I rubbed my forehead. "Then what exactly does he need from you?" "He wants support." I stared at her. "Support?" "Yes. From his ex-girlfriend." She didn't answer. That silence said enough. I lowered my voice. "Olivia, don't do this. He could be dying. You don't know that. What if he is? What if he's not?" She looked frustrated. "Why are you making this difficult?" The question felt like a slap. Why am I making this difficult? "Yes." I shook my head. "Because tomorrow you're supposed to marry me." Several nearby guests had started watching. I hated that. I hated every second of it. Olivia glanced around nervously. "Can we talk some way private?" "No." "Ethan." "No." She sighed. "I need to go." The words hit harder than I expected. "What about me?" She looked away. "What about us?" For the first time all night, her eyes met mine. And then she said the sentence I would never forget. "This is different." Different. Not more important. Not less important. Different. I felt something crack inside me. Noah stepped closer. "Maybe everybody should calm down." Olivia grabbed her purse. "I'll come back." "When?" As soon as I can. Before the dinner ends. Hopefully. Hopefully. Not definitely. Hopefully. Emma suddenly appeared beside me. You're leaving? Olivia nodded. Emma looked shocked. Seriously? Ryan needs help. Emma crossed her arms. And your fiancé doesn't. Emma, please. No. Explain this to me. Not now. Emma pointed toward the guests. People traveled across the country for this. I know. And you're walking out. Olivia looked close to tears. I don't have time for this. Then she turned toward me. I'm sorry. I wanted to stop her. I wanted to beg. I wanted to shout. Instead, I stood there, silent, watching. She walked out the door and didn't look back. The room felt colder immediately. Nobody spoke for several seconds. Then the whispers started. Quiet. Embarrassing. Impossible to ignore. I heard enough. Did she leave? Was that her ex? That's strange. Poor Ethan. Poor Ethan. I hated those words most of all. Noah put a hand on my shoulder. Come sit down. I'm fine. No, you're not. I looked toward the entrance. Part of me expected Olivia to come running back. She didn't. An hour passed. Then another. Then another. No messages. No calls. Nothing. By midnight, almost everyone had gone home. Emma sat beside me. I never liked him. Ryan. Yeah. I nodded slowly. Neither had I. My phone finally buzzed. I looked immediately. Not Olivia. One of our mutual friends. The message was short. Ryan is okay. Olivia is still with him. I read it twice. Then 3 times. Ryan was okay. Not dying. Not critical. Okay. And she was still there. Not with me. Not at our rehearsal. With him. I stayed at the screen. For the first time in 6 years, I wondered if I had been fighting a battle I could never win. Maybe Ryan had never really left a heart. Maybe I had just convinced myself otherwise. When I finally returned to our apartment, the silence felt unbearable. I stood alone in the living room. Tomorrow was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, I couldn't stop asking myself one question. If Olivia chose him tonight, would she choose him again tomorrow? And for the first time, I seriously considered a future where I never gave her the chance. The man who never came back. I did not sleep that night. After returning to the apartment, I sat on the couch and stared at the engagement photo hanging on the wall. 6 years. 6 years of trust. 6 years of sacrifice. And one night had destroyed everything. Around 2 in the morning, my phone finally rang. Olivia. I stayed at the screen. Then I answered. Ethan. Her voice sounded exhausted. How's Ryan? A long silence followed. He's okay. I laughed bitterly. That's what I thought. Ethan, please. Please what? I know you're upset. Upset? Ethan. You skipped our wedding rehearsal to sit beside your ex-boyfriend. He needed me. And I didn't. Another silence. That silence told me everything. I'm coming home, she said. Don't bother. What? I don't want to talk tonight. Ethan, tomorrow is our wedding. I closed my eyes. Good night, Olivia. Then I ended the call. The next few hours changed my life. At 4 in the morning, I opened my laptop. At 4:15, I found the email. The job offer. An architectural firm in another state. An opportunity one had rejected months earlier because Olivia didn't want to move. I read the message again. Then I picked up my phone. The hiring manager answered after several rings. Hello. This is Ethan Carter. Ethan. I know this is unexpected. It definitely is. I took a deep breath. Is the position still available? A pause. Then his voice brightened. It is. My heart pounded. I'll take it. The moment those words left my mouth, everything changed. By 6 in the morning, I had packed 2 suitcases. By 7, I had written a letter. I read it 3 times before folding it carefully. The letter contained only the truth. Olivia, I loved you enough to make you my first choice every day for 6 years. Last night, you showed me I was never yours. I refused to spend my life being someone's second choice. I hope Ryan was worth it. Goodbye, Ethan. At 8, Noah arrived. The second he saw the suitcases, his eyes widened. You're serious? Yeah. You're really leaving? I have to. He sat across from me. Ethan, this is huge. I know. You still have time to change your mind. I shook my head. No. What if she apologizes? She already had a chance. What if she comes running through that church door crying? I looked at him. Then she'll cry. Noah sighed heavily. I can't believe this is happening. Neither can I. A few minutes later, Emma arrived. The moment she walked inside, she smiled. Good. Noah stared at her. Good. Very good. Emma. Noah. She chose another man the night before her wedding. Ryan had an emergency. Emma rolled her eyes. Please. I laughed softly. For the first time in nearly 24 hours. Emma sat beside me. You deserve better. You really think so? I know so. I nodded. Then I grabbed my bags. An hour later, I was sitting inside an airport terminal. My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Olivia. Again. And again. And again. I never answered. When boarding started, I looked at the screen one final time. 32 missed calls. I switched off the phone and stepped onto the plane. For the first time in years, I felt completely alone, but strangely free. The wedding ceremony was scheduled for noon. At noon, I was 30,000 feet above the ground. At 12:15, my phone exploded with messages after I turned it back on. Noah called first. I answered immediately. How bad is it? You sure you want to know? Tell me. He exhaled. She showed up. Okay. She thought you were running late. I closed my eyes. What happened next? The priest waited. I stayed silent. Then your letter arrived. My chest tightened. Did she read it? Yeah. And? She broke down. I looked out the airplane window. What about everybody else? Nobody knew what to say. I swallowed hard. What did Olivia do? She kept asking where you were. I see. Then she started crying. I ended the call a few minutes later. Not because I felt guilty. Because I felt empty. The following weeks were brutal. Olivia called constantly. Sometimes 20 times a day. Sometimes 50. She left messages. Ethan, please talk to me. Ethan, I made a mistake. Ethan, please come home. I deleted every voicemail. One evening, Emma called. Guess who contacted me? Olivia. Yep. What did she want? To know where you are. What did you tell her? Emma laughed. Nothing. Thanks. Don't thank me. Why not? Because I'm still angry. Months passed. Slowly, life became quieter. The new city felt strange at first. The new job felt overwhelming. Then I met Victor Hayes, my boss, the owner of the company, the man who changed everything. During my first week, he invited me into his office. You look miserable. I laughed. That obvious. Very. Rough year. He leaned back. Woman trouble. Something like that. Victor nodded knowingly. I've been there. You have. Twice. I blinked. Twice. He grinned. Trust me. Survival is possible. Over the next several months, Victor became more than a boss. He became a mentor, a friend, almost a father figure. Whenever I doubted myself, he pushed me forward. Whenever I wanted to quit, he challenged me. And slowly, the pain began to fade. One afternoon, Noah called. We talked about work for a while. Then his tone changed. Can I ask something? Sure. Do you ever think about her? I looked out my office window. Sometimes. She's struggling. I stayed silent. Things aren't going well. What happened? People keep talking. About what? Ryan. I frowned. What about him? They've been spending time together. I felt a strange ache. Not jealousy. Disappointment. Noah continued. Everyone thinks she left you for him. I laughed bitterly. Maybe she did. She says she didn't. What difference does it make now? Noah had no answer. Several weeks later, he called again. This time his voice sounded different. Ethan. What happened? Olivia found something. I sat up straighter. What? Apparently Ryan lied. My stomach tightened. What do you mean? The emergency. I froze. Noah continued. It wasn't nearly as serious as he claimed. I felt anger rising inside me. The same anger I thought I had buried. You're kidding. I wish I was. I stared at the darkening sky outside my office. What exactly did he do? Noah exhaled slowly. That's the crazy part. What? He admitted he just didn't want to lose her. I closed my eyes. Suddenly, everything made sense. The phone call, the timing, the desperation, all of it. Ryan hadn't needed saving. He had needed attention, and Olivia had sacrificed our future to give it to him. What did Olivia say? I asked quietly. Noah paused. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. According to her, that's not even the worst thing she discovered. My heart sank. What else is there? Noah hesitated. Then he said the words that made my blood run cold. Ryan apparently planned the whole thing. And in that moment, I knew the story wasn't over. The truth behind the emergency. A year changed more than I expected. When I first arrived in my new city, every morning began with anger. Every night ended with questions. I kept replaying the rehearsal dinner, the phone call, and the moment Olivia walked away from me. But 12 months later, something strange happened. The anger got tired. One morning, I woke up and realized I had gone 3 days without thinking about her. Then a week. Then 2. I wasn't healed completely, but I was finally moving forward. Most of my time was spent working with Victor Hayes. One Monday morning, he walked into my office carrying 2 cups of coffee. You look exhausted. I accepted the cup. You say that every Monday. Because every Monday you look exhausted. I laughed. Fair point. Victor sat across from me. You know what your problem is. This should be interesting. You work too much. I learned from the best. He pointed at himself proudly. Exactly. You realize that's not a compliment. It absolutely is. I shook my head. Victor smiled. Then his expression became serious. I'm proud of you. The words caught me off guard. For what? For surviving. I stayed at him. That's a dramatic way to describe employment. I'm not talking about work. I knew exactly what he meant. I'm fine. You weren't a year ago. No. And now? I thought about it carefully. Now I'm building something. Victor nodded. Good answer. That afternoon, Noah called. Got a minute? Sure. You remember what I told you about Ryan? Unfortunately. Well, there's more. I leaned back in my chair. I'm listening. Noah sighed. Olivia finally got the full story. What story? The emergency. I stayed quiet. Ryan admitted everything. My fingers tightened around the phone. What exactly did he admit? He exaggerated the entire situation. I wasn't surprised. Still, hearing it confirmed felt different. He wasn't dying. No, he wasn't critical. No, I closed my eyes. What was the point? Noah's voice became bitter. He couldn't accept losing her. I laughed once. A cold laugh. So he destroyed a wedding. He says he never intended that. Intentions don't change outcomes. No argument there. I looked out my office window. For some reason, I didn't feel rage. Just disappointment. Deep disappointment. What happened after he confessed? Noah hesitated. Olivia confronted him. What did she say? You sure you want to hear this? Yeah. Noah took a breath. She told him, you stole my future. I remained silent. Then Noah continued. Ryan looked at her and said, no, you chose me over him. The words hit harder than I expected. Not because they hurt me, because they were true. Noah sighed. Apparently she started crying. I rubbed my forehead. That's rough. You're taking this surprisingly well. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. Neither do I. After the call ended, I sat quietly for several minutes. A year ago, that conversation would have consumed me. Now it felt like reading a chapter from someone else's life. Later that week, Victor invited me to a corporate event. I need you there. I hate networking. That's exactly why you need to come. Can I fake food poisoning? No. Can I fake a kidnapping? No. I groaned. Victor laughed. Be ready at 7. The event was held inside a luxury hotel. Business leaders, journalists, investors, and executives filled the ballroom. Within 10 minutes, I regretted attending. Victor noticed immediately. You look miserable. I was born miserable. No, you weren't. How would you know? Because miserable people don't make terrible jokes. I smiled despite myself. Then a woman's voice interrupted us. Terrible jokes are usually a sign of intelligence. Victor grinned. There you are. I turned. The woman standing beside us looked confident and relaxed. Grace Morgan, she said. I shook her hand. Ethan Carter. The architect. I blinked. You know who I am. I interviewed Victor last month. Victor pointed at me. Is the reason half our projects succeed. That's generous. It's accurate. Grace smiled. I've heard good things. I laughed. Hopefully not all from Victor. Mostly from Victor. Then they are probably exaggerated. Interesting. What is? Most people spend networking events talking about how amazing they are. I shrugged. I never understood that strategy. Grace laughed. For the next hour, we talked. Not about money. Not about business. About books. Movies. Travel. Life. The conversation felt easy. Natural. Comfortable. At one point she asked, what's the biggest lesson you've learned recently? I thought carefully. Never beg someone to choose you. Her expression softened. That sounds personal. It is. She nodded slowly. Then she said something I didn't expect. Whoever hurt you made a mistake. I stared at her. Most people offered sympathy. Grace offered honesty. There was a difference. As the evening ended, she handed me a business card. It was nice meeting you. You too. Maybe we can continue our debate about terrible movies sometime. I smiled. You're assuming your opinions are correct. They are. We'll see. She laughed and walked away. Victor immediately appeared beside me. Well, what? You smiled. So, you haven't smiled like that in months. I rolled my eyes. Relax. I'm just saying. Don't start. Too late. The following weeks brought more conversations with Grace. Phone calls, coffee meetings, long discussions about everything and nothing. Unlike Olivia, she listened carefully when I spoke. Unlike Olivia, I never felt like I was competing for attention. And unlike Olivia, she never treated me as an option. One evening, Noah called again. Guess what? That phrase never leads to good news. This isn't bad. Okay. Olivia's finally stopped defending Ryan. I frowned. Took long enough. She apparently cut all contact. I nodded. Probably for the best. Then Noah asked quietly, do you ever miss her? The question lingered. Finally, I answered honestly. I miss who I thought she was. Noah didn't respond immediately, because he understood. A few days later, I received an email from Emma. The subject line caught my attention instantly. Family reunion. I opened it. The message was simple. Mom's 70th birthday celebration. Everyone will be there. You better come home. Love, Emma. I stayed at the screen. Home. The city I had escaped. The city where everything ended. A few minutes later, Emma called. You're coming. That wasn't a question. It wasn't supposed to be. I laughed. Emma. No excuses. I'll think about it. No. Maybe. No. I sighed. Fine. Good. After ending the call, I sat quietly. Returning home meant facing memories I had spent a year avoiding. It meant seeing old friends. Old places. Possibly Olivia. The thought alone reopened wounds I thought had healed. A week later, I boarded a plane. As the aircraft descended through the clouds, my heartbeat quickened. I looked through the window at the city below. The same streets. The same skyline. The same place where my life had fallen apart. And as the wheels touched the runway, I realized I was finally returning to the city I once escaped. The reunion nobody wanted. The moment I stepped out of the airport, memories hit me harder than I expected. Every street looked familiar. Every building reminded me of a different version of my life. The version that had planned a wedding. The version that had believed love alone was enough. Emma picked me up outside the terminal. The second she saw me, she wrapped her arms around me. It's about time. I laughed. Good to see you too. She stepped back. You look different. Older. Better. I smiled. I'll take that. As we drove through the city, I found myself staring out the window. Emma noticed immediately. Nervous. No, liar. I laughed. Maybe a little. You think you'll see her? The question hung between us. I don't know. Emma sighed. Well, if you do, remember one thing. What? You don't owe anybody anything. I nodded quietly. That night, Mom's birthday celebration went smoothly. Family filled the house. Stories were shared. Pictures were taken. For a few hours, I almost forgot why returning home had worried me. Then 2 days later, Emma's charity event arrived. And everything changed. The event was packed. Business leaders, local donors, volunteers, journalists. I had barely entered the ballroom when Emma appeared. There you are. I'm here. Good. She grabbed my arm. Tried to smile. I am smiling. No, you're not. This is my smiling face. It's terrifying. I laughed. Then another voice spoke behind me. I agree with her. I turned. Grace. My heart immediately felt lighter. You made it. She smiled. You sounded surprised. You flew across the country. You invited me. Fair point. Emma grinned. I already like her. Grace laughed. Most people do. Confident. Accurate. For the next hour, everything felt comfortable. Easy. Normal. Then I saw her. Olivia. Standing near the opposite side of the room. For a moment, the noise disappeared. The conversations. The music. The laughter. Everything faded. She looked different. Not physically. Emotionally. The confident woman I remembered seemed gone. She looked tired. Sad. Lost. Then our eyes met. Neither of us moved. Neither of us looked away. Finally, she started walking toward me. My heart pounded despite everything. When she stopped in front of me, several seconds passed without a word. Then she spoke. You look happy. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I looked directly at her. I learned how to be. Pain flashed across her face. I deserve that. I stayed silent. Ethan. Hi, Olivia. The formal greetings seemed to hurt her even more. That's all. What else should I say? She swallowed hard. I don't know. Neither did I. For several uncomfortable seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she finally said it. I'm sorry. I looked away briefly. Then back at her. I know. No. Tears filled her eyes. You don't understand. Try me. She took a shaky breath. I think about that night every day. I said nothing. Every single day. Still nothing. I replay it constantly. She wiped her eyes. I should have stayed. Yes. I should have chosen you. Yes. I should have ignored Ryan. Yes. Each answer seemed to break her a little more. Finally, she whispered, I made the biggest mistake of my life. I believed her. That was the tragic part. I genuinely believed her. But belief changed nothing. Olivia looked at me desperately. Do you know what guilt feels like? I exhaled slowly. Yes. She nodded. Then you understand. I understand regret. A tear rolled down her cheek. Ethan, I ruined everything. I looked directly into her eyes. Then I said the words I had carried inside me for over a year. When I needed you most, you chose someone else. She immediately lowered her head, as if she couldn't bear hearing the truth out loud. I continued. I wasn't asking you to save my life. I know. I wasn't asking for anything impossible. I know. I just wanted my fiancé beside me. Her shoulders shook. I know. The sadness in her voice felt real. Painfully real. But it didn't change what happened. After a long silence, she looked at me again. Do you hate me? The question surprised me. I thought carefully. Then I answered honestly. No. She blinked. No. I don't hate you. Then what do you feel? I searched for the right words. Finally, I found them. I feel disappointed. That answer hurt her more than anger ever could. Because disappointment meant something important. It meant I had stopped expecting anything from her. Before she could respond, another voice interrupted. Ethan. I turned. Grace had walked over. She immediately sensed the situation. The atmosphere. The tension. Everything. Sorry, Grace said softly. Am I interrupting? Olivia looked at her. then at me, then back at Grace. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Finally, I cleared my throat. Olivia, this is Grace Morgan. Grace offered a polite smile. Nice to meet you. Olivia forced one back. You too. The conversation remained polite. But underneath the politeness, emotions collided. I could feel it. Grace wasn't jealous. She was confident. Olivia wasn't angry. She was realizing something. Life had moved forward. Without her. Grace glanced at me. You promised to introduce me to your family. I smiled. Right. Emma suddenly appeared. Finally. Grace laughed. What? I've been looking for you. As they started talking, I noticed Olivia watching quietly. Not bitterly. Not resentfully. Just sadly. As if she was seeing the future she once imagined for herself. Later that evening, Noah joined me near one of the tables. How'd that go? You saw it. Fair enough. We stood quietly for a moment. Then Noah said, Want some gossip? Not really. Too bad. I laughed. Go ahead. Ryan's business is falling apart. That caught my attention. What happened? Bad investments. I frowned. That's it. No. Noah lowered his voice. Debt. Serious debt. Very serious. I shook my head slowly. What else? People are abandoning him. I wasn't surprised. Ryan had always attracted people during good times, not difficult ones. Noah continued. Several investors pulled out. That's rough. Apparently he's desperate. I looked across the room. For some reason, I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No joy. Just acceptance. Actions had consequences. Eventually everyone paid their bill. The event began winding down. Guests slowly left. Conversations ended. Then I felt someone approach me again. Olivia. Her eyes were red from crying. But there was determination in them now. Ethan. I turned toward her. Yeah. She took a deep breath. Then another, as if gathering courage. Finally she spoke. Can you give me one last chance to explain everything? And suddenly, I wasn't sure what my answer would be. The cost of regret. After the charity event ended, I couldn't stop thinking about Olivia's question. Can you give me one last chance to explain everything? Part of me wanted to walk away. Part of me wanted answers. The next afternoon, I agreed to meet her. We chose a quiet coffee shop near the river. When I arrived, she was already there, nervously turning a coffee cup between her hands. The moment she saw me, she stood. Thank you for coming. I sat across from her. You said you wanted to explain. She nodded slowly. For several seconds, she struggled to speak. Then the words finally came. I spent a long time blaming Ryan. I remained silent. It was easier. I can imagine. She looked down. If everything was his fault, then I didn't have to face my own. I nodded. That's true. Tears filled her eyes. The problem is that it wasn't all his fault. No, it was mine too. I watched her carefully. She wasn't making excuses. She wasn't defending herself. For the first time, she seemed completely honest. I always thought you'd forgive me. The confession surprised me. What? She laughed bitterly. I know how terrible that sounds. Then why say it? Because it's true. I leaned back. Explain. She wiped her eyes. Every time we had problems, you forgave me. I listened quietly. If I forgot something important, you forgave me. She paused. If I hurt your feelings, you forgave me. Another pause. If we argued, you forgave me. I knew where this was going. She continued. I got used to it. I looked away briefly, then back at her. You thought I'd always stay. Yes. The answer came instantly, painfully honestly. I thought no matter what happened, you'd eventually forgive me. I exhaled slowly. And when you left the rehearsal dinner, she lowered her head. I thought you'd be angry. You were right. I thought you'd yell. You were right again. She swallowed hard. But I never imagined you'd leave. The sadness in her voice felt genuine. I never imagined there was a line I couldn't cross. I stayed out the window. For years I had wanted an explanation. Now I finally had one. And somehow it hurt more than I expected. Because she wasn't cruel. She wasn't evil. She had simply taken me for granted. A long silence settled between us. Finally, she asked quietly, "Do you regret loving me?" The question caught me off guard. I thought carefully before answering. "No." She looked surprised. "No. No. Why?" I smiled sadly. "Because loving you wasn't the mistake." Her eyes filled with tears again. "What was the mistake?" "Believing love could survive without respect." Neither of us spoke for several moments. Then she whispered, "That's fair." When we finally left the coffee shop, I felt emotionally exhausted. The conversation had given me answers, but answers didn't automatically create peace. That evening, Grace called. "How did it go?" "You already know I met her," Emma told me. I laughed. "Of course she did." Grace smiled through the phone. "So?" I leaned against my apartment balcony. She was honest. "That's good." "Yeah." "Do you feel better?" I considered the question. "A little." Grace remained quiet. Then she said something unexpected. "You don't owe your future to your past." I smiled. That's a very journalist thing to say. I'll take that as a compliment. It was. The following week, I returned to work. Life felt normal again, until Noah called. The second I answered, I knew something had happened. "What's wrong?" "You remember Ryan?" I laughed once. "Unfortunately." "Well, karma finally showed up." I sat down. "What happened?" "His company collapsed." I frowned. Completely. Completely. I shook my head slowly. "Wow. That's not even the worst part." "What is?" "He lost almost everything." Noah explained the situation. Failed investments, growing debt, legal problems, investors leaving, friends disappearing. The empire Ryan spent years building had fallen apart, and nobody seemed interested in helping him. A few days later, something happened I never expected. Ryan called me. At first, I almost ignored it. Then curiosity won. I answered, "Hello." His voice sounded different. Smaller, weaker. "Ethan." "Ryan." A long silence followed. Finally, I spoke. "What do you want?" I wanted to talk. "Why?" Another pause. Then he laughed bitterly. "Because there aren't many people left." The answer surprised me. We agreed to meet. Not because I trusted him, because I wanted closure. When I arrived, I barely recognized him. The confident businessman was gone. The arrogance was gone too. He looked exhausted, defeated. After several awkward moments, he spoke. "I owe you an apology." I crossed my arms. "That's true." "I know." His voice cracked slightly. "I never meant for everything to happen this way." I remembered Noah's words. Ryan never intended to ruin the wedding. He just wanted Olivia's attention. The problem was that selfish choices rarely stay small. They grow. They spread. They destroy things. "What exactly did you expect?" I asked. Ryan looked away. "I don't know." "That's not an answer." He nodded. "You're right." Then he laughed bitterly. "I thought if she chose me, I'd finally feel like I won." The statement sounded pathetic. Not because it was false, because it was true. I looked directly at him. "I thought winning her would make me happy." He nodded slowly. "Yeah. What did it make you?" Ryan lowered his head. For several seconds, he didn't answer. Then he finally whispered, "Alone." The word hung in the air. Heavy, honest, painful. I realized something in that moment. I wasn't looking at a villain anymore. I was looking at a man destroyed by his own decisions. A man who had chased victory so desperately that he had forgotten to ask whether the prize was worth the cost. When the meeting ended, Ryan stood. "I really am sorry." I nodded. For the first time, I believed him. Not because his apology fixed anything, because he finally understood the damage. As I walked away, I felt strangely calm. There was no desire for revenge, no desire to watch him suffer. Life had already handled that. The greatest victory wasn't his downfall. It was my recovery. Over the next several weeks, Grace and I spent more time together. Dinners, phone calls, weekend trips, conversations that lasted for hours. The closer we became, the more one question haunted me. Was I truly ready? One evening, while walking through a city park, Grace smiled at me. "What are you thinking about?" "Too many things." Helpful answer. I laughed. She bumped my shoulder playfully. "You know, You're allowed to be happy. The words stayed with me long after we said goodnight. A few days later, Olivia called. I almost didn't answer. Almost. When I picked up, her voice sounded nervous. Ethan. Yeah. Can I ask you something? I already knew it would be difficult. Okay. A long silence followed. Then she finally spoke, her voice trembling. Soft. Fragile. Do you think you could ever love me again? The wedding I never missed. For several days after Olivia asked a question, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Do you think you could ever love me again? The answer seemed simple. Yet it wasn't. Because love and forgiveness were not the same thing. I had learned that lesson the hard way. A week later, I called her. Olivia. Her voice immediately became nervous. Ethan. Can we meet? A long pause followed. Okay. We met at the same riverside coffee shop where we had spoken before. When I arrived, she looked anxious. Hopeful too. That combination worried me. After we sat down, neither of us spoke immediately. Finally, she broke the silence. You've been thinking. Yeah. So have I. I nodded. Then I looked directly at her. You asked me a question. Her hands tightened around her coffee cup. I know. And I owe you an answer. She swallowed hard. For a moment, I could see how much she wanted things to be different. How desperately she wanted another chance. Part of me felt sorry for her. But pity wasn't love. And guilt wasn't a foundation for a future. I took a deep breath. Then I finally said it. I forgive you. Hope immediately appeared in her eyes. For one brief moment, I saw her believe everything might be fixed. Then I continued. But forgiveness isn't the same as going back. The hope disappeared. Not dramatically. Not suddenly. Just quietly. Like a light slowly fading. I watched her absorb the words. This time she didn't argue. She didn't beg. She didn't try to change my mind. Instead, she nodded. Slowly. Painfully. I understand. For the first time, I believed she truly did. A long silence followed. Then she smiled sadly. You know what's funny? What? I spent so long trying to get you to forgive me. I listened quietly. And now that you have, I realize that was never the real problem. I tilted my head. What was? She laughed softly. My choices. I nodded. Yeah. Tears filled her eyes again. But these tears felt different. Not desperate. Not manipulative. Just honest. I loved you, Ethan. I know. I really did. I know. She wiped her eyes. I was stupid. I smiled slightly. Probably. That made her laugh. A real laugh. Maybe the first genuine one we had shared in years. Then she looked at me. Grace makes you happy, doesn't she? I didn't even need to think. Yeah. The answer came naturally. Without hesitation. Without confusion. And hearing myself say it taught me something important. I had already moved on. Olivia noticed too. She smiled sadly. I can tell. Neither of us spoke for several moments. Then she stood. I stood too. I guess this is goodbye. I nodded. Yeah. She looked at me one final time. I'm sorry. I know. I'll always be sorry. I know that too. Another quiet moment passed. Then she surprised me. Thank you. I frowned. For what? For loving me when I didn't deserve it. I didn't know how to answer that. Fortunately, I didn't have to. She stepped forward and hugged me. Briefly. Respectfully. Then she stepped back. And just like that, it was over. Not with anger. Not with revenge. Not with hatred. Just acceptance. Two people standing in the ruins of a future that never happened. Then walking in different directions. The months that followed felt lighter. Olivia gradually disappeared from my daily thoughts. Not because she stopped mattering. Because the story was finally finished. Through mutual friends, I heard occasional updates. She had started volunteering. She was seeing a therapist. She was rebuilding her life one step at a time. For the first time in years, she seemed focused on becoming better instead of looking backward. I genuinely hoped she succeeded. Around the same time, Ryan left the city. Noah told me during one of our calls. He's moving. Where? No idea. I leaned back in my chair. Probably for the best. Yeah. Noah paused. You know, he actually sounds different now. What do you mean? Humbled. I thought about that. The old Ryan would have considered humility a weakness. Life had clearly changed him. Noah continued. He lost almost everything. I know. And somehow that's exactly what he needed. Maybe he was right. Some lessons only arrive after everything else leaves. As for me, life kept moving forward. Grace became a bigger part of it with every passing month. Not because we rushed, because we didn't. That was the difference. There were no dramatic promises, no impossible expectations, no pressure, just honesty. One evening we sat together on my apartment balcony watching the sunset. Grace nudged my shoulder. What are you thinking about? You ask that a lot. Because you're always thinking. I laughed. Fair. She smiled. So? I looked toward the horizon. How easy this feels. Her expression softened. Easy is good. Yeah, it should be. I looked at her. You know, I spent years believing relationships had to be complicated. Grace laughed. That's because you had terrible examples. Probably. She took my hand. You don't have to earn peace. The word stayed with me. Months later, I proposed. Nothing dramatic. Nothing flashy. Just honesty. The way everything important should be. We were having dinner at home when I looked at her and realized I didn't want another day to pass without asking. Grace. She looked up. Yeah. I have a question. Her eyes narrowed. That sounds dangerous. I laughed. Then I reached into my pocket. The moment she saw the ring, her hands flew to her mouth. For once, she couldn't find words. I smiled. Grace Morgan. Tears immediately appeared in her eyes. I love you. She started crying, which made me laugh. I'm trying to be romantic. I'm trying not to pass out. That made both of us laugh. Then I asked the question, and before I could even finish, she answered. Yes. A year later, I stood at another wedding ceremony. This time, it was mine. The church looked beautiful. Friends filled the seats. Family filled the front rows. Noah stood beside me. You okay? I laughed nervously. Not really. Good. What? You look terrified. Thanks. Emma walked over. Ignore him. I planned to. She adjusted my tie. Then she smiled. You deserve this. Those words hit me harder than expected. Because for a long time, I hadn't believed them. The music began. Everyone stood. And suddenly, I was no longer focused on the crowd, or the church, or the memories. I was focused on the woman walking toward me. Grace. Beautiful. Confident. Smiling. For a brief moment, another memory appeared. A younger version of me. Standing alone after a broken rehearsal dinner. Sitting in an empty apartment. Believing his life was over. Believing he had lost everything. He was wrong. Completely wrong. Because losing the wrong future had made room for the right one. As Grace reached the altar, she smiled at me. I smiled back. And in that moment, I understood something important. Sometimes the greatest revenge is not destruction. Sometimes it is survival. Sometimes it is growth. Sometimes it is waking up one day and realizing the pain no longer controls you. And sometimes it is happiness. Real happiness. The kind built slowly. Honestly. Patiently. The ceremony began. I took Grace's hands in mine. She squeezed them gently. I'm not going anywhere, she whispered. I laughed softly. Good. Then I looked into her eyes. And for the first time at a wedding, I felt absolutely certain. Because this time, when the ceremony began, neither of us walked away.